We are live.
So do I get an intro?
You do get an intro.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for joining us. This is the Shit Audio live stream, live streaming from the SchiitR. And Jason Stoddard is here, and we are doing the year-end wrap-up here in Newhall. Jason, I think I'm just going to tee it over to you right away. What's going on at the end of the year? What do you...
Well, actually, what's going on today is like 2 prototypes just aren't working. So it's been a fantastic day. Not really. But no, I mean, a lot of stuff happened this year. So what I'll do is I'll go through kind of like what we did, maybe try to break it down into like, you know, why it's a big deal or why it's not a big deal or whatever. And then I know there are questions and there'll probably be more. But if you've been around this year and been watching what we're doing, you've noticed we've introduced a lot of stuff. So we can start with just the stuff we've done this year. And the biggest thing is that there's 7 new names that we introduced this year. Last year we introduced a lot of stuff, but a lot of it was revs, you know, this rev, that rev, you know, it's a 2 or a 3 or a plus or whatever. This year there were actually 7 new ones. Which included Wrecker and Yallerhorn, which were the less power, more better little desktop amps. Those seem to be going really well, especially Yallerhorn. People really seem to like that amp a lot. There was Sin, which is my take on a standards-free surround product. So you can actually set up a surround system based on this. You can run anything into it. You know, analog, digital, whatever, and actually get surround and don't have to worry about it being obsolete next year. That one is actually doing pretty good, but the main thing is I got mine, so we're going to keep making that. And finally, or not finally, but kind of in the middle, something I always got asked about. Erd! Hey, we shipped Erd! Holy crap! I mean, we actually shipped Erd, and not only that, we're on our 2nd run right now. So that's actually going pretty well as well. And that's Erd for those of you who have not asked me about it, for you know the 2 or 3 people who have not asked. That is a CD transport with USB in and out functionality, so it's like a general purpose hub. We also introduced Kara. Kara is kind of an all-out solid state preamp. We did that really deliberately because it seems like this year a lot of people ain't so hot on the whole tube thing, so we decided to give you Kara. Kara also introduced actually the headphone jack on one of our preamps, because why should you have to buy a headphone amp if you're just using it and you have a preamp in your system? We did Skull. Skull is a much higher end phono preamp that's above Manny. And in fact, it's got all the buzzwords you want, you know, Class A, high volt, no feedback, you know, passive RIAA, fully discrete, et cetera, et cetera. It's really a big step up. It's also remote control, and it's also the least expensive balanced phono preamp on the market.
Hey, Jason, before you get to the next point, let's just make sure now it's officially 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's officially 6 o'clock, and we want to let people know that, yes,
so I can...
he's got his wine. We want to let you guys know that, indeed, yes, this time is the time for you to comment on Facebook and on YouTube for a chance to win. What are they going to win this year, Johnny?
One person will win all of the digital stuff that we introduce next year, and one person will win all of the analog stuff we introduce next year. Both of those are TBDs because I think going into last year, I wouldn't have known we're doing 7 new products and half a dozen updates. So could be a lot of stuff. On the Digi side, I think you guys are going to be pretty happy. Let me just say.
So to enter to win, you got to be here, you got to be present, and you have to comment either on Facebook or on YouTube. It's pretty simple, and we will announce the winner at the end of the show, so stick around.
Yeah, Denise is tabulating those, so yeah. And then she makes me draw a name out of a hat or something, so.
Numbers.
Yeah, at the end. So, But it's a long way to the end. I mean, I got to finish this mess, and then we got to.
We want to make sure we can.
Yeah, then we got to do some questions.
So everybody settle in.
So was it Skull? The seventh new name is Midgard. Midgard is a new headphone amp that debuts a new mixed mode feedback system that we called Halo. And it can improve measured results on some headphones at some times and maybe not at others. So the main thing is it's a really good high value, fully discrete, excellent headphone preamp or headphone amp. So 7 new things. It's unusual for us. We typically are going to be working on updates. But we also did updates. In fact, we got something out this year that we tried to get out the year before, which was the True Multibit Unison USB DAC card. That big bunch of words just means we have a multibit DAC card that goes in Jotunheim and Asgard, things like that. Again, this time it is True Multibit and Unison, so it's a USB-C product, and it also has our Unison USB. How about more? Okay, big changes. MNER 3. That was a surprise to me. I figured no one wants this big, heavy, hot, kind of inconvenient, very old school, Class A headphone amp. I was wrong. A lot of people want it. In fact, we're finishing up the second run now. We're going to be going into the third. It will continue as not a regular production product, but we will continue making it in batches, as far as I know, as long as people want it. So you guys seem to like it, so we're keeping it around. We also did Hell Plus. You might think, oh, okay, it's another gaming thing. It sounds like all the other Hells. We did a bunch of new stuff with it. 3 gain levels, 3-year warranty, what we call invincible protection system. Got to do scare quotes around invincible, but it's a lot. It's going to take a lot to blow that one up. And I didn't think it was that big a deal until Evan, one of our guys in Corpus, actually mentioned. I said, well, no one's really going to be all that interested in this because they're probably using Bluetooth, headsets. And he's like, well, there's never been a gaming championship like won by anyone using Bluetooth headphones. They're all wired. I'm like, oh, really? So, okay, Hell Plus, mission critical. You serious about your gaming? Got $2,000 video card, wired, not Bluetooth. Wired, get a Hell. But if you want something more audiophile-y, we also did Magnet Unity, which is an all-in-one modular product that's sub $200 with the DAC, $119 without the DAC. Again, fully discrete, current feedback, our usual thing, but now much higher linearity, much better, than the old ones. And finally, we did a new version of Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil, more is better. You guys may remember more is less, not exactly the most popular Iggy on the planet. But people really did like the more is better with the new TI DAC 11001B chips rather than A chips. So we're going to continue making that. And so 12 products, 10 boxes, 7 new names. It's a lot of stuff. And that always brings up one question. I'm surprised no one's asked this yet, which is like, well, are you, that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff to do. Are you getting tired? Can you keep up this pace? And it's like, you guys, you don't understand. I love doing this. This is what I live for. I wake up in the morning thinking about new products. I go to bed dreaming up new products. And sometimes they work. But I love doing this. So this is fantastic. This is exactly the pace I want to keep. And so we're going to keep coming out with new stuff and fun stuff when it makes sense. I mean, heck, Valhalla 2 we haven't updated yet, and that thing's 12 years old. 12-ish years old. So we only do it when it's necessary. But I do love doing this. I'm going to keep doing this. But, doing a list of products, that's one thing. Why is it important that we're doing these new products? So I wrapped it up into we do have some new key technologies. One of the things that debuted on Yord was what Mike has called the Unison USB host. The most important thing about the Unison USB host is this is the only USB source that is not based on a general purpose operating system. That means it is 100% secure. It doesn't need updates. It doesn't need patches. You don't need to worry about it poking a hole in your home network, any of that stuff. It is literally, it just does one thing, which is it outputs USB, and that works with our Unison USB inputs that you're probably familiar with. We also had a return of a technology, voltage feedback amplifiers. Doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun, but essentially it was the only way we could get certain things done on SIN. So SIN saw the return of a voltage feedback topology, which, by the way, is actually one of the best measuring things we've done because voltage feedback is easier to get better measurements. But what it allowed us to do in SIN is have much better, finer control over width and presence and some of those things that we couldn't do with current feedback because of its limitations of feedback network impedance. Yeah, sorry, techie stuff. I like it. We also extended this thing that we've been referring to as Equipoise. Horrible name. I can't think of anything better, so that's what you got. That was the buffer, the differential buffer that was used in Freya Plus. It is now showing up in Skull, only it's showing up with up to 70 dB of gain. But Skull is based on this kind of unique complementary pair, but no feedback topology. Basically, it relies on complementary symmetry and also complementary cancellation of distortion to give pretty good performance for something that's got no feedback and up to 70 dB again. It performs very, very well. We also expanded our current feedback architecture. So again, this clunky thing we're calling high precision, high linearity current feedback. You saw that in Midgard and you saw that in Magni Plus. This invincible protection system, we've learned a lot doing Kara, and now it's been applied to a whole lot of things where it's now going to be a lot harder to break stuff that we make. Even if you go ahead and short the outputs, turn it up, have fun. It'll just sit there and click. And finally, the last technology, Halo, which is kind of controversial. It's a new output topology that has mixed mode feedback. It tries to get the driver kind of into the feedback loop, so if it has back EMF, it can actually help linearize the acoustic output. Getting measurements on that is not a lot of fun, especially on headphones, because they don't typically have a lot of back EMF. However, I'm sitting right here next to two Azure 2s, which also have Halo. They work on speakers. Speakers have a lot more back EMF. Should be easier to get measurements from that. More on that later. And actually, a friend of mine mentioned, he's like, well, heck with technologies and products and stuff. He says, you're the solid state redemption guy. He says, you literally move solid state forward at every price level. From $119, Magni, Midgard, the Pietus Maximus done by Nietzsche, and then MNER 3. And I'm like, cool, because I do actually like solid state stuff, and I'm happy that I think we actually came up with some really cool stuff. It also gives people some kind of breathing space from tubes. Tubes, I know, they're expensive, they come from scary places. A lot of people don't want to deal with them right now. Good, take a breather, take a couple years off. By then, hopefully I'll have come up with something better for tubes. And then we can go back to that, or who knows, maybe we'll all be listening to Class D. Dave's like, no. What else happened this year? Well, really interesting thing. We went into the year basically having a lot of commitments. We had a bunch of people that we said, oh, we're going to make 1 billion of these things, the next year. I'm exaggerating slightly. And, things slowed down a bit, so we had to, pull that back in. We now have everything nicely aligned, but we also got stung by some, suppliers that were like, oh, inflation. So here's your quote that's 2.5 times your old quote. I'm like, that's not inflation. That's extortion. That's different. I get it, things more money, but it's not 2.5 times. And so we had to stand our ground, and we had to, actually even look into maybe bringing in a assembly line ourselves, to do, PC board assembly, because it was getting so ridiculous. Well, what happens with that is what always happens. The people who are quoting 2.5 times are now like desperate for business. And so I have 2 words for you guys. It's like, and they ain't happy holidays. So I'll be nice. Yeah, it is the holidays. But yeah, you always get yours, and you're getting yours now. Enjoy it. So I think summing up, what did we do right this year? A lot of stuff. It's tempting to say everything, but of course not. We did update the line significantly. We introduced actually new product categories. We have new significant technologies. We had a bunch of launches that were flawless and no problems. We played hardball with the inflation vendors. We realigned production with demand, and despite all the economic craziness, we pretty much maintained our sales. I don't think there's any mystery right now that audio is probably going through some tough times. I mean, all you have to do is look at the homepage of HeadFi, on Black Friday. It was literally, all Black Friday deals. That's the first time it has ever happened. And this year we didn't actually have to have a sale. We did start a new thing that's last call for some things we're closing out. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, because one of the things we're closing out, you'll notice, is Valhalla 2, our oldest product in the line. What did we do wrong? Well, we didn't get the MNER demand right, that's for sure. Didn't get the ERD demand right, that's for sure. And advertising. Google is rapidly evolving into a space where it's really hard to tell what you're doing, which is really hilarious, because early on Google AdWords, you could tie it straight to a sale. Now it's kind of like, well, you kind of saw an ad like 1 billion years ago, and so we're going to take credit for that. And I'm like, So we started running some tests, and now we have a much better idea of what Google AdWords is doing and what isn't. And as a result, we're reallocating, some of the advertising we do, which is tiny, but we're reallocating that to stuff that either is fun or we can measure. So honestly, I don't think we did a ton wrong. It'd be great if we had more MNERs, but we'll get there. And finally, where are we going? Well, next year I will actually share with you some of the things that we are actually doing next year. One of them is, I just mentioned, HDMI 2. HDMI 2 is HDMI size chassis with halo, with a output stage that very much reminiscent of TIR, but no chokes, there's no space for them. It does a real solid, honest 100 watts mono into 8 ohms. It's going to be rated, I think, 25, 8, 50, 4, 100 mono. Should be $899, so $100 more than the outgoing one, $200 more than the one that we're closing out right now. It is, let's see, and it has halo. Halo will be controversial because halo will change the damping factor of this amp significantly. This amp has an output impedance close to 0.1 ohms, so the damping factor is actually going to be about 0.8 ohms. So the damping factor is going to be around 10 into 8 ohms. That's much lower than usual. So that's a personal thing. People have to decide if you want to try that or not. Some people do like low damping factor amplifiers. Some people want to have high damping factor.
Do you recommend, or what's your approach to pairing this with high efficiency speakers? Is that something that was put into consideration?
It should work with most. I mean, if you have a speaker that has like a dip to a couple ohms, or 1 ohm, in the bass or something like that, because it has some network that's trying to help out in the bass a bit, may not be the best match. Might be okay. I mean, I actually like it on the LS50s, and they have a pretty gnarly dip there. But I mean, they're running actually LRSs from the HDR 2s right now, which is something you would never actually try in the old days. So it is much more capable. It does have twice as many active output devices as the old one, so it really does have a lot more stuff behind it. It also has a toroidal transformer for if you like that or hate that. It does have a toroid now instead of a square one. That one should be in January. That'll be very soon. Valhalla 2s, yeah, we're closing them out. The reason we're closing them out is I really want to get a Valhalla 3. Valhalla 3 will probably be more like around summer, but expect that to cost definitely more than the old one. Not ridiculous. We're not going from like $400 to $2,600. We're not assholes, but it will cost more because it'll do more. It'll actually be very much like a mini Folkvanger. If you remember the Folkvanger with DC coupling and impedance multiplication, stuff like that, it will do that. And right now I'm just trying to get a prototype that's quiet enough that I'm happy with. We will get that to you. Stuff that you may not know what we're working on is, one is what we're calling right now, this may stick, it may not, Staria, which is a tube, it's a tube phonopreamp. It's an all-out tube phonopreamp.
Oh yeah!
Yeah, that has enough gain for moving coil without step-up transformers, or you can switch it down to lower gain. It's working. We have a couple of them running. They're pretty quiet. I could probably make it a little quieter. I'll work on that a little bit more. I think it's going to use 4 6N1Ps, so really easy to get tubes. You could swap in. I have to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure you can use 6922s without it changing the response very much. It's a passive RIAA type of thing, like we always do. That will probably be for real, not like MNER. It'll probably be a real limited product, as in we probably will only make a certain number of them, 250 or whatever, and see how it goes. I can't imagine that tons and tons of people want a giant, well not giant, a very large tube phonopreamp that won't be cheap. And we'll see, but we'll see.
Is it gonna? It has to be full size then.
Yeah, it's the same size as a Freya.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we're not if we're lucky, people have asked me about Gonor. I reiterated a while back. There's a lot of bad choices with Gonor. It's like try to update it. Take it to a Gonor 2 like a Bifrost 2. Well, we've made a decision. We are going to take it to a Gonor 2 type of scenario. And so maybe by summer or so you might see a Gonor 2. Do not expect it to be cheap. Do not expect it to be much less than an Iggy, the new Iggy Garage Sale 2, the one that we're closing out with the old analog boards. Because it will debut a bunch of new technologies, including Singularity. So that's going to be a big deal for us. And if we're really, really, really lucky, I'm looking at Dave, but if we're really lucky, we may finally get what we've been calling the processor, which is what we've played with the gadget, but this is much more full-featured. The processor code name now is Yord, or the World. So we'll see. Don't know. Cross your fingers on that one, and we'll sneak in some other stuff as we can. I'm sure I'll probably sneak in some analog stuff, but that's kind of where we're going next year. It's more detail than I usually give you guys. I'm trying to let you know what we're doing, and actually providing things like this last call, so it's like, this is going away. If you want one at a good deal, get it now, and then we'll do some new stuff. But there's other stuff we're working on. I think the most exciting thing I can say about this list, even though it's more than what I gave you, and even though it's got a lot of exciting stuff on it, that's the stuff we can talk about. The stuff we can't talk about is the real interesting stuff. But if you're interested in Gonor 2, Gonor 2 is fairly well along, and it should be. Yeah, we now need to get a chassis to wrap around it, obviously, and then work out some bugs and things like that. But it is essentially a another fully modular, fully upgradable DAC, but it will sit slightly below the Yggdrasil as far as price goes, and it will only be our own Delta Sigma to start. And that's kind of the year. It's the kind of, I think the title of the year-end chapter is Runner's High, because last year I'm like, close the door. This is a horrible thing. I think I started drinking like literally, I just downed a glass of wine when we did last year. This year is actually good. I feel great. We're in the right place. We're moving fast, but we're in that runner's high rather than, oh God, close the door and let's get this year behind us. So hopefully you guys will enjoy next year with us as well.
Do you feel that things are in a way fully recovered from the demands of what happened in the pandemic? There's a shortage of supply, really, right? Yeah. You mentioned a little bit about the some of your workings with the people, but let's not with outside of your individual supply and demand. Do you kind of think that the supply is healthy again, or things are getting, even though they're more expensive, have we kind of like fixed the wrongs of yesteryear?
It's definitely a lot easier to get parts, and in some cases the prices are normalizing, or they're coming back to it's going to be higher, but it's coming back to what it was. You can now negotiate with people without them laughing at you. You can also expect that a lot of the parts will be in stock. For a while there, it's like, we couldn't get things. Now it's like we could go, oh yeah, we do want to swap out this part for this other one. That's not like, it's not like uproarious laughter. It's like, where are you going to get that? And in fact, I think we now have multiple options for DSPs, and so yeah, we can build things with multiple DSPs and different, in this case, FPGAs, and they're gettable, which is just so weird. So yeah, it's normalizing.
And then I think this has been the subject of some of the other live streams that we've done, but is there any difference between getting the analog parts, like tubes were so highly hard to get, and then it was silicone? So you're saying, yeah, the DSPs and the silicone is the tube, I guess, like tubes, the question is the tube's kind of the...
Tubes is going to be more of a, what are you comfortable with? Tubes are gettable, but they're expensive. Most of them still are being made in Russia. JJs you can get, but they're really difficult. That's Slovakia. That's the most neutral. But yeah, most of them are going to come out of Russia or they'll come out of China. So it's kind of like, choose where you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with it, the good news is we got lots of great solid state now. So, yeah.
So I think with that, unless you have something else you want, should we move on to some of the questions we got?
Yeah, I'm sure you got lots of wacky questions.
We got some earlier questions, and we will be taking questions from you guys online as well. So if you have something, throw it our way, and we'll try to get all of them. The scroll is quite rapid this time because of the contest, so bear with us if we miss yours. We do apologize, but we're going to kick off with some of the ones we have. And I think the first one we want to kind of tack on is what's your basic opinion on a balanced left to right knob incorporated into some of the amplifiers?
It would, yeah. I mean, I've heard requests for this before. I'm not opposed to it. The problem is it's a complete re-engineering of everything we do, because nothing has separate, in the case of resistor ladders, nothing has separate control for each left and right ladder. And in fact, if you're talking about Saga, it's a single ladder, so we don't have control over what's switching that way. The big thing would be, how do you indicate it? And in our case, we'd probably want to do it with a knob, a motorized knob. So then you have, re-engineering for the extra control lines. You have the extra, potentiometer knob and stuff. Cost is moderate. Might be worth looking at, on a higher end preamp or something like that. I don't see it, happening on some of the other stuff. But yeah, I mean, there are other solutions that admittedly are clunky, like putting volume control on one side, or doing an external balance thing. But no, it can't say yes, won't say 100% no.
The next question we have is based around the number of inputs. So
Yes.
Traditionally, you guys have a variety. You don't like cut off one here and there, but they tend to be one or just a few of each. Did you have this person is asking any plans in the future to have DACs have multiple coax or optical inputs?
I'd love to know where the coax inputs are coming from.
Yeah, that's it. I was gonna say too.
Because there ain't none. Optical, sure.
Sure, yeah.
USB, sure, actually, and that's weird. That a lot of things don't have multiple USB. Coax, a lot of times we'll do coax and AES, which even though people hate me saying this, they're the same friggin' thing. Just one has a input transformer on it, slightly different than the other one. But yes, we could have more. If we did, it'd be optical and USB focused. Optical for convenience, USB for sound quality.
Ever think about making a UV accessory? A VU meter. A bopping meter.
Yes, and I will make it. I'll make it so that you control it from your phone, and to get full functionality on it, you have to pay us $5.99 a month.
I think if there's one question that's scrolling in the comment section the most is, can we pay for a monthly fee?
Yeah, like it went over so well with BMW, right? Yeah.
I'm joking, guys. I'm joking.
No, and I'm joking too.
Would it? You wrote an article about the challenges of building a 230 volt version.
Oh yeah,
of the MNER 3.
Yep. The solution was actually fairly simple. We didn't have to change the transformers at all. We had to move the transformers and chokes physically away from each other. And by away, I mean literally 3/8 of an inch did it. So that actually got rid of the vibration on 230 and the hum on 230, and that was about it.
Someone has a question here about if you're gonna have modular DACs, would it be possible to have an option for, instead of having optical, AES, and coax, to switch it out for like 3 USB-Cs instead? So like in a way, you pick the module, but you also cater it one level deeper to what your needs are.
You could. It's a re-engineering of the product at that point, though, because you would literally have to re-engineer it to take the extra modules. But you could do it. There's nothing holding us back from that.
Dan from Bottlehead, who sells kit amps, is retiring and selling the business. Would you be interested in acquiring them for a commission? No, I'm just kidding. I, for one, would love to build a kit amp from SchiitR. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. At one of the Headfi meets, I think here in LA, there was an opportunity to at least put it together, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was just putting something in the chassis.
Yeah, it's not really.
It wasn't all that exciting. It's like, while I respect what Bottlehead's doing, and while I like their products, We are not set up to provide the level of support that you need for DIY. If I found someone to run it, and I thought they were the absolute perfect person, to do it, I still wouldn't do it because it wouldn't be me. And I think it goes back to this is what I love to do. I love to wake up and think about this stuff and come up with things. And if I don't have anything to do, I'll make up something to do. And you know what? You'll never win against that. You'll never, ever be able to beat a company that actually really loves what it's doing. And so you'd have to find someone as fantastic as, Doc B to run it. I don't know that we'd find it. And even if we did, it's you'd have to talk to me after a fantastic year rather than a okay-ish year. So no, unfortunately it's not for us. I do hope he finds a buyer that loves it as much as it should be loved.
There's a question about sustainability at Apple's presentations. They always talk a lot about what they're doing for the planet. Are you doing anything that might help you reduce waste or make a happier planet?
Absolutely. We make stuff that's not junk and falls apart.
That's true.
We also make stuff that actually don't force you into buying something new every year. Because Apple, for everything that they say, they want you to buy something new every year. And what do they do when, we're sustainable, so we'll take the charger out of there for you.
Right.
And make you pay more. So no, it's here's the thing. Our stuff has 2 to 3 to 5 year warranties on it. It's designed to be something that you can, actually give to your kids if you want. It's designed to be non-obsolescent. Hell, we are the only company anywhere near our price point doing fully upgradable modular stuff where you don't throw the thing away every few years when the technology changes. And we have exactly 0 salespeople saying, you should get the bigger one. Oh, yeah, well, you want the new one. You want this. We don't come out with phones in different colors that people can't tell the difference, other than maybe they take slightly better photos these days and say, everyone must have this. So I think we're doing sustainability just fine.
This is a question about labor in Texas. Do you want to just kind of address this in your own way? There's a question about who is employed and how you kind of take care of your people in Texas, because Texas apparently makes the news a lot on this.
Well, Texas and California both make the news a lot, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of see where this is going. It's one of those gotcha questions.
Yeah, it's a gotcha question.
It's a gotcha question. Okay, fantastic. I'm glad someone asked that, because I think just like as Apple should be taken to task for changing everything every year for no reason and then talking about sustainability, you should be wondering where your stuff is made and who's making it and under what conditions they actually work. Because all of our stuff is made in the U.S. The U.S. has very, very strong labor protection laws. Yes, even Texas. Everyone who works for us is paid far, far above minimum wage. No one would work for minimum wage in Texas anyway, but far above that. We go above and beyond what is actually required in Texas, and actually in California, to take care of our people. And everyone is quite happy. In fact, I think I did a walkthrough of Texas when we opened it up. I should do another walkthrough and just let people talk to them, because we got nothing to hide. Unlike a lot of other companies that probably aren't making stuff in the U.S. And you may want to ask what conditions they're working under. Who are the people that make those products? How can it be that cheap? I'd really like to know that myself. So I think it's something that, if you're serious about that question, it's not just gotcha, it's worth digging into, and I'd love to know the results of your investigation. And if you want to come see us in Texas, come on by. In fact, show up anytime. I don't even have to be there. You can walk around and talk to our own people, and they'll tell you exactly what they think about working for us.
I have a question about the MNER 3.
Yep.
Did you address that one already in your
Which
presentation? How are the sales and supply going? Will there be another run after run number 2?
Yes, actually, sales are going quite well. In fact, I think we're almost out of the second run now. I know there's a hiccup in the second run because we were supposed to build a certain amount. We built half of them for some reason. It's been a bit of a fun thing trying to keep up with. The answer to the question is we're catching up, and we're hoping to keep caught up, and we'll keep making it. Just expect that it'll be in stock for a while, out of stock for a while. In stock for a while, out of stock for a while. Just because we have this history of we get real excited, so we build 10,000 of them, and then, you guys buy, 9,000, and then we're stuck with 1,000 for years and years. Hi, Valhalla 2, how's it going? That's kind of the Valhalla 2 problem. So we're going to play it safe, but we're going to keep making it. So if you want one, our estimate of time to shipping is always up on the site, and we try to get it reasonably accurate. And if it goes out too far, we will contact you and let you know.
There's a question from YouTube about, is there any plans to have some type of power control for multiple units that turn it off and on, other than you could just line it up? Would there be a problem if everyone just plugged it into the strip and turned the strip off?
It's typically not a problem to do it that way. I mean, there's lots of smart strips, things like that. I will be definitely doing more things that have standby features. As far as integrated, triggers and stuff like that. Didn't have any real plans for that, but we would. I'd like to have things have more standby. That makes sense.
Any hints as to what the Valhalla 3 might look like?
Hopefully like a mini Volkswagen, but that's highly provisional because right now I had a sketch and we 3D printed it and it doesn't fit. So we're getting there. Hopefully I'll get something that looks really cool and also sounds really good.
Can you put a balanced out of the front of the ViDAR 2 to power the tungsten? That one I don't know.
Oh, I think they're talking about the tungsten headphone. And hell, a Midgard will power that. You don't need a ViDAR.
That is kind of the end of the questions. I think if we are ready, is everybody ready for the contest?
Are you gonna give them? You gonna give them a minute to cut off to get their final?
Okay.
Things in?
Everybody comment right now what your favorite color is.
Yeah.
If you throw that out, and then we will cut it off. I'm going to cut it off. And
we got enough numbers to cover everyone? Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, Jason,
Okay.
go ahead. Just pick 2, and I will just hand them to me. You don't need to read them.
Okay, I'll reach down the bottom. Maybe we get someone, here? I don't know. Probably not.
Okay.
That's one. All right. Wow, there's
A lot. There was
There
quite
you
a
go.
few. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye, everybody.
and we'll see who got what.
Yeah.
But
Yep. In about 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes.
All right.
actually, a better thing for the tungsten might be just very simply get a Ragnarok. It does 32 watts out of the front, so I think it's perfectly fine.
Do you have, while we're waiting for her to tabulate the results, do you have any inkling that you'd like to share about having separates as opposed to the integrated? Do you think there's any advantages outside of, I think the obvious one for a lot of people is upgradability, right? If you want to tinker, you want to change out one thing to another, that's the benefit of that, like right on paper. But a lot of the stuff that's bought is for sound quality. right? Obviously.
I personally like integrateds, but you know, people don't seem to share my enthusiasm. Let's just put it that way. It's like when you want to be polite and someone gives you something you don't like, and they go, "That's nice, more for you." That's what they're saying about integrateds to me. Part of it is, I think, that doing a truly like no compromise integrated, you know, where you have a true like killer analog section and a true killer digital section, that's tough. I mean, that would be almost like, you know, two different, you know, boards in a single chassis. You know, and actually two different, like, you take a Gonor board and stick it in a Ragnarok kind of thing, which is not physically easy. It's not designed for it. The power supply doesn't support it, et cetera, et cetera. And then, you know, you'll still get that, well, but would it be better if it was separate? I don't know. I don't like dealing with a lot of cables, so I do like integrated.
Yeah. It does save you money on cables. Let's see here. We're just waiting for her to calculate. So let's see. We do this one. We got this one, but we can address it almost every time we do this. Any chance for a streamer at this point? I feel like I could almost answer the question for you at this point.
No streamers.
Dave, who you can't see off camera, is shaking his head big time. He's like, no. He just says no.
You sure you don't want to like just hook up a wireless module to the Unison USB host and? Oh God. Well, if we want our digital guys to do nothing for the next 2-3 years,
well,
that's a great.
And on and off forever. Yeah.
And on and off forever. Yeah. So yeah, you have to be real careful about getting into software based.
We'll do that when we do HDMI.
Yeah, don't say that. They might think you're serious about doing HDMI. Dave is not serious about doing HDMI, just so you know.
What about sometimes manufacturers will use HDMI though to do like from the Yord to another digital source, the D2, I2?
They use the cable.
Yeah, they use the cable, but that protocol.
That's all.
Have you guys looked at that protocol at all?
No, because there's no standard for it. It's like you can actually, you know, blow up other products if you don't have.
I've seen a spreadsheet and there were like 9 or 10 ways that was being done or something. So.
Yeah, and usually it's only from one person's product to another person of the
Right.
same brand. It's not,
brand,
they don't do it like, oh, just check this out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's if they want to do that, I think that's their prerogative. But yeah, it's not us. HDMI is a weird standard because it's like dealing with USB is pretty easy, except they can't sometimes answer some of the most basic tech stuff that I think, you know, most people would ask. But HDMI truly is kind of like, you know, pay us some money and we'll throw you to the wolves. I mean, it's like, why don't you guys get together and figure out what works with each other, you know?
Yeah.
So, and they do also love, I think the thing I love most about real HDMI is they love to actually introduce features that are not fully supported or implementable. Those are neat. Those are really neat. So, but anyway, no, there's not a lot of love for HDMI here.
Okay, guys, we have the winner. Jason, you want to read it?
Sure. Let's see who we got. Analog.
The analog. So this is for analog for everything that's coming out for the next year.
Is that the Coolness Room or Rune?
Rune, R-O-O-N.
The Coolness Rune. Got all of the analog. And that should be pretty fun. Digital, it might be even funner, is Landon Waltz.
Correct.
So, okay.
Congratulations, you guys, to the winners.
Contact me, please.
Yeah, contact Denise at SchiitR.com.
Thank you. Congratulations.
And yeah, we will.
Congratulations.
As things come out, you'll get yours. If anything happens to be like a monoblock or whatever, you'll get 2 of them. Again, we're not assholes. It's like, yeah, here's your 1 tier. Enjoy. I don't know that we have anything. I don't even think I have any inkling of mono stuff. But in the case that you need 2 of them, you'll get 2 of them.
On the way out, I will do one quick, fun little thing. Guys, thank you for joining us in the chat. It's been overwhelming. There's been so many I want you guys if you listened to Jason's presentation earlier, I'd love to know what you guys are most excited about out of all the things that Jason talked about. And simultaneously, while you guys punch that in, Jason, I want to ask you, what are you most excited about out of all the stuff you went over today?
Actually, I'm most excited about something we didn't go over, but out of what we went over today, I'll still come back to Sin. You know, I like that product. It's not going to set the world on fire, but I really do like it. You're going to have to answer that question too, because I understand you're taking the Azirs to play
That
around.
is correct. I'm most excited, me personally, about the Azir 2, obviously, because I've been a big fan of the Azir 1 for a long time. Price point, the mono blockness of it, obviously you can bridge it. But aside from that, if I had to do a second one, I am definitely excited for this Tube Pre that you've been mentioning, because I've been asking, hey, how many are on the market? How many? And I have found a couple, but like, I'm very interested where you come in on the price point. I know you can't do a line in the sand right now, but even aside from that, just the abundance of this very, very niche thing that is, I would say, pretty rare. There's a lot of solid state out there. A tube preamp is usually only reserved for the high end, those things that are far away.
And honestly, the tough part was actually getting enough gain for moving coil,
Right.
without step ups. And Dave did a prototype of a tube phono preamp years and years ago, and we started by looking at that, and I didn't realize how much gain it had, and as soon as I hooked it up, I'm like, oh, holy
So I
crap!
just wanted to move in coil.
Yeah, I'm like, holy crap, we could actually do a real like tube. Yeah, and this is not cheating. There isn't like there isn't a fat stage in front of it. There isn't a step up transformer in front of it. This is like 60 dB of tube gain, and you can step it down to about 40, I think, and our typical 40, 45, 50, 60, our normal kind of thing. And it'll have remote control and all that. It'll be a fully modern product, other than it has 4 giant glowing glass Bernie things sticking out of it.
Bernie things.
Yeah.
It's totally modern except for the Bernie things.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Keep the cats away.
That's true. That's true. Keep the kids away. Jason, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Congrats again to the winners. Thanks to everybody who kind of joined in on the conversation here. I think it's probably the biggest stream we've ever had to date, so that's really cool. And thanks for Dave for all your color commentary.
Yeah. No, it's
Dominating the conversation.
yeah, no, thank you for listening to me blathering about things, and thanks for your support. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully next year you like what we're coming out with. It's kind of a gloomy, rainy day here today, so don't have a big turnout, but that's fine. It sounds like